I've been meditating for years, long before I ever even thought about archery. Later on, I'll talk about the protocols that I use, as well as the things that I notice when I'm meditating on a daily basis. It's very powerful to be in the flow state while shooting, but it can be tough to get there at times and not be thinking about that red car that you had when you're 16, how sweet that thing was, or that comeback you should have said to your coworker yesterday, but you just laughed awkwardly and walked away and let them have the last laugh. And then all of a sudden you're pulling, and wham, you slam that trigger and it breaks off center because you were thinking about that thing you should have said 2 days ago that doesn't matter anymore. But when you are in the flow and you're thinking, your mind is clear, you're just thinking about the shot process and how to get through it, what to do next, and slowly releasing the trigger. Meditation helps you get into that flow, zen, in the zone state and stay there and achieve it more readily. Some refer to shooting as their form of meditating, and I wouldn't disagree with that by any stretch. But what meditation does do is it helps you achieve that flow state when you are shooting or doing other similar activities and maintain that in the zone feeling. And there's a lot of different activities to get in the zone, whether it's like mountain biking, race car driving, and those things. If you lose concentration, you're crashing hard. You're getting messed up. But things like archery or golf, you don't necessarily need to be on your game. Your mind can be floating, but you're not on your game. You're not having the full effect of your training. That one was to the left. Benefits that I've found as they relate to archery. Number one, helps you stay in the present moment and not let your mind drift off as you're going through your shot process. Your mind is like a muscle. So the more you work it, like lifting weights, the easier and easier it gets to stay in the moment and focus on working through your shot process and not letting it drift off. Get out of a rut quicker. And by this, I don't mean necessarily a emotional rut, but more of a mechanical rut that maybe is leading to shooting poorly than you otherwise would. Let's say I'm twisting my torso or I'm focusing on my pin instead of the target. I find that I can identify those couple things, reframe my mind to focus on those, so that twisting the torso or focusing on the pin, and focus on the process instead of the result and get out of that rut in a quicker form and get that out of my system so I'm back to making good habits. Emotional control. It doesn't necessarily lower my emotions, but I find that it allows me to take that extra split second to control my emotions, and when I have a bad arrow, not react in even a small negative way internally. And instead, I focus on the next arrow being perfect, not that last arrow that sucked. Rewire bad habits. I try to already have a purpose of picking certain things in my shot process to focus on during a session of shooting. But I find when I'm more in the zone, I am not forgetting about thinking about that in every shot process, and I'm breaking out of that bad habit and reforming a new one that is ideal for my shot process. Now, all my claims relating to what I found to benefit archery are really just an N of one. It's just what I have found from having those periods of meditating a lot to those periods where I wasn't meditating every day. So this isn't a research basis. I didn't have a bunch of people that I'm grabbing their experiences from, but I just found that this has benefited me a lot in my life over the last 15 years, and I've found that it's transferred over quite a bit to archery. Again, I like to say this, but I'm not an experienced archer. I think I've been shooting on a consistent basis for 2 years now. So I'm just relating to other new archers things that I think would improve you as well. Constant benefits for longtime practicers are lower resting respiratory rate, higher breath holding rate, and a decrease in oxygen consumption. Now, these three things I think have a direct correlation and benefit to archery. My meditation protocol, it's real simple. 10 to 15 minutes, laying down, sitting in your car. Really, you could just anywhere. You don't need to be in the mountains next to a waterfall with deers frolicking in daisies behind you. Although all that would be awesome. You'd be flow as if you were in the mountains next to a waterfall. You could set a timer. I find it is more beneficial to not set a timer. So you breathe in, hold it for a second or two, and then breathe it out along with a word of your choice that you pick. And you always say that word on the breath out. Yeah, just something simple, something that's 1 or 2 syllables. And if your mind wanders, you don't let it bug you. Just bring it back to center with that breath going out. And you really can't have a big expectation. Don't get mad at yourself for letting your mind wander and not being on point or in the zone, because that kind of defeats the purpose. Sometimes you're going to feel great and you're going to feel like your mind was focused the whole time. And sometimes your mind is just going to be wandering the whole time, but you still get the benefits of it. And then you just repeat that for the duration, and that's it. Super simple. Keep it easy and maintainable. If it's tough, if you find that like you just don't want to do it because it's the hardest thing to do because you're someone that's just your mind is always going, just take time and just slowly bring it up. Start with 2 or 3 minutes, and then over time build up to 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. I usually do 10 minutes, but I like to do 15. More than 20 minutes is very rare, but I have had times where it just flew by and was more than that. So that is the number one thing that I think people should learn alongside archery. I can't even sit cross-legged. I'm going to break this thing. Ugh. Yep. I would not make a very good yogi.